I think you've said that you like to pray the Holy Rosary.
Oh, yes. I like simple prayers.
Yeah. When do you pray it, and how do you pray it?
Every day, if I can, usually in the car or while I'm doing something else.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't get to pray it under those circumstances, I take 15 minutes out before I go to bed, even though I'm tired then, because it's a thing I can do. I can accomplish that.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be brilliant, and you don't have to have mystical visions, and you don't have to have great feelings of sanctity. You just say the prayers faithfully.
Yeah. And I know some people maybe get a little scrupulous because they wonder, well, I think I stopped meditating halfway through, or my mind was fleeting. What advice do you give to people like that?
The fact that Mary wants us to pray this, and she obviously knows as a mother that she has to be compassionate and patient with us because we are so distracted and we love too many things too much. So she gives us this as a kind of a cure, a medicine for distraction. It's a great prayer for people with ADD.
Mm-hmm. Thomas Aquinas in the Summa talks about prayer and even talks about distractions. And one of the things he says is if we're kind of choosing to be distracted, we're intentionally distracting ourselves, this is a sin. But we shouldn't be surprised by distractions so long as the intention was to be prayerful and to meditate.
Yes.
Which is really great to hear, because
that's
sometimes
one
I'll
of
be
his
praying the
wonderfully clear
rosary
distinctions, yes.
and I'll be thinking of everything else. So.
And I think those distractions, when they're not willed by us, when we don't originate them, are gifts from God. They're little flies, and they're bothersome, but we exercise our muscles in swatting them. And the virtue that we gain from saying no to a distraction is greater than the vice that the distraction causes.
I think it was Teresa of Avila who talked about within us, we have this like crazy old woman. So you sit down to pray,
Scatterbrained.
and there's this crazy old woman running about the house, shutting the windows and cooking and doing all sorts of things.
Martha.
Yeah. And I think Teresa's point was, that's okay, just don't follow her. Like, let her go. Let her be crazy.
One of the saints uses something like that. He says, we must do the deeds of Martha with the spirit of Mary. We must be contemplative even in our actions.
Increasingly, I feel like the Lord is calling me to peace and gentleness. Peace and gentleness. And I find that so often when I'm sort of not praying at all times, when I'm not like recollecting myself, I'm just fleeting about, running about, kind of aggressively hitting the day, trying to accomplish things, not having time for people who bump into me.
Yep.
I think that's wrong. I think that I should be more recollected and at peace, and that when I'm not at peace, when I find myself agitated, I can be sure that I'm outside of the will of God.
You know what group impresses me enormously that have that? Buddhists. They have no theology, they have no God, and yet they practice very well this peace, this awareness, this just being there for others. I think God gave them that gift to compensate for the lack of their theological gifts.
It's almost like presentness, like being present to this moment is almost the same as recollection or peace.
Yeah.
Like right now, kind of feeling my body, being aware of where I am, being intentional about now with you here.
It's the most important gift we can give to each other because it's the gift of self. When I met Mother Teresa, I was online, there were hundreds of people there, and it took only 3 or 4 seconds, but she looked at me, and I knew that I was the only person in the world for her. The whole world passed away. It was just she and I. And all she said was, God bless you, God love you, and that's all. But I later discovered that other people who met Mother Teresa had that same impression. She was totally present to you.
I've had that happen to me, that feeling. Maybe it's happened to me, but I wasn't aware to be, present to the presentness. But the time that struck me, there's a founder of a religious order in Canada, Father Bob Bedard. He founded the Companions of the Cross. And I remember going up to him after a talk, and he spoke to me. And it was as if I was the only person in the universe, and everything else faded away.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the one thing you can't do if you're distracted. You can't be present to people. Yeah.
And that's what we want the most when we die. What can I do for you? Just be here. Woody Allen, of all people, said famously, 90% of life is just showing up, just being present.
Yeah. There's a priest who wrote a book called Searching for and Maintaining Peace, Jacques Philippe, and it's excellent. He uses the analogy, which I'm sure you've heard before, about the surface of a pond, which is reflecting the sun, but if you throw a rock in it, it doesn't reflect it very well. And we are meant to reflect Christ to people we meet, and when we are agitated, we don't do that very well. I can't interpret what's around me.
And yet, if we have faith, even when we're agitated on the surface, the depths can be peaceful.
Yeah.
If the anchor is down there, you can maintain the anchor even if there's surface storms.
Hey, thank you so much for watching. Before you go, do us a favor, leave a comment, let us know what you thought of the video, like, and subscribe.